Thank you. Happy Pride. Shabbat Shalom. It is a real pleasure to be here tonight. It, of course, makes me remember 3 years ago when I was the Pride speaker for Pride Weekend on an amazing night when moments after the service ended, marriage equality was passed in New York. And I kid you not when I say that night was one of the most exciting and most cherished nights of my life, and I was so thrilled to spend it here with you. So I'm have the wonderful, pleasurable honor of introducing Bill de Blasio, tonight's speaker. And I think I think we should all feel very proud here at CBST that the mayor has chosen his first Shabbat, his first Pride Shabbat, to spend it with us. And I think we are all so honored. I will just say, you know, that some people thought that Bill de Blasio was not going to be elected mayor. And one of the reasons that I heard often, again and again and again, was that he didn't come from a powerful enough ethnic enclave, as did all the other Democratic candidates. You know, he wasn't African American, he wasn't Jewish, he wasn't gay, he wasn't Asian American. But you laugh, but we are a force to be reckoned with in this city. Don't think we're not. He wasn't Latino, and so they said, where is his base of support really going to come from? Where did it come from? It came from all of those groups. He won all of those groups in just about every neighborhood in the city, because the truth of the matter is that the world we live in now, certainly in New York City, is not a world of dominant groups. It is a world of pluralities who, if they know what's good for them, and in the election of Bill de Blasio they clearly did, they need to elect someone who understands that a true progressive vision, a true progressive leader sees those groups and values them and cherishes them and weighs them heavily in his hand and speaks to them, and they hear him and they go out and they vote for him. The election of Bill de Blasio is a moment we have been waiting for at least a generation in this city, and I'm so proud that he's here with us tonight. I don't think he's going to blow his own shofar for what he's done for our community, so I'm just going to blow it for him now a little bit. I just learned this today. This happened this week. I don't know how many people know this, but I'll read it because it just happened today and I'm still wrapping my mind around it. The New York City Administration for Children's Services this week released the nation's, and I would be tempted to say the world's, first ever transgender, gender nonconforming best practice guide for child welfare and juvenile justice practitioners. This is to help adults who are dealing with transgender and gender nonconforming children and young people who are involved in child care services. He's also, the list of things, he's only been in office 6 months. And the way he has, he and Charlene have pledged right from the get-go they would not march in any non-inclusive parades. which I think speaks volumes to the world, and I think will put even more pressure to see things like the St. Patrick's Day parade finally integrate. It's gone on for too long, and we can't accept it, and it's enormous to have the mayor standing with us on that. He's also budgeted for a 30% HACA rent cap for people living with HIV and AIDS. If you don't know what this means, this has been a fight that was won this year that was passed in a rush of progressive excitement brought in by Bill's election. This means that if you're living with HIV or AIDS and you're a low-income person, your rent has to be capped at 30% of your income. So if you are ill, you cannot lose your housing. He has also ended stop and frisk. And while stop and frisk received a lot of attention as it affected communities of color, certainly the LGBT community was seeing this as an increasing concern, particularly for gay men and for trans women. And the last thing I'm going to mention is that he's created 100 new emergency crisis beds for youth in this city, a quarter of which are earmarked for LGBT youth. And I'll just say that I remember it was a little more than a year ago, it was spring of last year, when he was meeting with Rabbi Kleinbaum, and they were meeting at our house, and she started to talk to him about the scourge of LGBTQ youth out on our streets and in what danger they're in, many working as sex workers, and how this is as AIDS was for the previous generation, this is really the scourge of our time and needs all of our attention and all of our focus. And Bill that night went to one of those panels where he was interviewed about gay questions. And he spoke to that issue because Rabbi Kleinbaum had educated him on it that very morning. And then he texted her after the event to thank her for educating him. And we're 6 months into his administration, and he has started to act on it. So what I will say about Bill, finally, as I introduce him, is he has so many issues about which his knowledge and his experience is decades long, and he works so deeply on those issues. But even issues that he is just becoming aware of, his learning curve is steep, and he learns quickly, and he doesn't just learn, he acts. Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Bill de Blasio.
Thank you so much. Happy Pride. Shabbat Shalom. I have a lot to say, but I'm not one to blow my own shofar. I'm going to be using that a lot from now on. Oh, Cynthia, you don't know what you've done with that phrase. It is a joy to be here. This congregation, this synagogue is so hip, so cool, so very happening, that when we were here last year, when Shirley and I were here with Chiara and Dante thought it was cool. They do not believe anything we are associated with is cool, except for CBST. So I don't know what higher praise I could bring this evening, but This is an incredible community, and it really is an honor to be with you, and it's an honor to have this role this evening. I want to first speak about some of the people here. I will keep everything brief, but I have to say, Cynthia Nixon, every time she speaks about what we're doing, it re-energizes me. I'm like, we did that? We should do more of that. But the passion and the leadership and the absolutely foundational role she played in getting all of us to the place where we could make these changes. Sometimes it's nice to talk about what we were able to do in these months, but it's also really, really important to remember who got us here and who brought us to the dance. So can we thank Cynthia Nixon for making so much of this possible? And I want to thank Rabbi Kleinbaum because she has the ability to educate you on an issue and change your mind in less than 24 hours. And you know her as an extraordinary leader here. She is such a passionate advocate, and I remember that conversation deeply. And she helped me see, I obviously knew something about the issue, but I didn't know enough. And when she put it in perspective, it was instantly clear to me what we had to do. And there are some leaders you just listen to because they have so much integrity, and you have a rabbi who epitomizes that. Let us thank her for all she does. I would like to note the rabbi is now totally part of the establishment since I got elected. She was on our transition team. Okay, she's going all government on you. And, we thank her for all her service. Now, both Cynthia and I have something in common. We found extraordinary soulmates to walk through life with. One of them, I'm the lucky one to say, and I've talked about this with Shirlane. I met Shirlane in City Hall in 1991. I was talking to a group at Gracie Mansion last night, and I said, I met Shirlane, a thunderbolt struck me immediately, the angels sang, the violins played, it was love at first sight, and if you listen to her, if you see her passion, if you see her brilliance and her energy, you immediately would understand why I fell in love instantly. And I said at the time, I did not think I needed to ask for an identification card. I just fell in love. And it was the right thing to do, and it worked out very nicely, thank you. And she's doing amazing, amazing things for the city, and she is just loved wherever she goes because she's standing up for all the people of this city. Let us thank our First Lady. And Cynthia met Christine Marinoni, and I don't claim to be the matchmaker, but I was around when they both were involved in community organizing efforts on behalf of public school kids. And I didn't quite see the spark happen exactly, but I could tell they were kindred. And Christine did amazing, amazing things in our campaign, led our women's committee, did extraordinary work building all that became later such a powerful movement. And she's really gone government because now she's part of our Department of Education, and she is one of the leading energizing forces in our effort to give pre-K to every child in this city, and that is as good as it gets. I should note Rabbi Kleinbaum found a soulmate too, and she's a wonderful leader in her own right. From time to time travels about the nation defending teachers. Seems she has to do that a lot, and we're glad she does. The president of AFT, Randy Weingarten, thank you for all you do. Just a few more quick acknowledgments. I know we have some wonderful colleagues in government here tonight who really are true progressives. Gail Brewer, I think, is here, Manhattan Borough President. Brad Hoylman, State Senator. Corey Johnson is here. City Council. Deborah Glick of the New York State Assembly. Is it true that Edith Windsor is here? That is unbelievable. Why, hello there, American hero, Edith Windsor. You know, we all work really hard. We try and do good things, and then there's those people who get their name on a Supreme Court decision that will last forever. That's the ultimate. You are the best. You are the best. It is an honor to be here for many, many reasons. I can relate deeply to any community that stands for something that includes people, that uplifts people, and particularly a community that did not exactly start with an excess of resources or support. This congregation began decades ago, wandering about trying to find a home, making do, but representing something so powerful. And people gathered round and gathered round some more and gathered round some more. And now, today, you are the largest LGBTQS synagogue in the world. You basically represent everyone at this point. And you create such a powerful and inclusive energy that people want to be a part of. It's a beautiful example of the meaning of Judaism, and it's an example of something so powerful in a democracy. And people are attracted to it, and they become a part of it, and they want to stay a part of it because it's where we all need to go. And you have a lot to celebrate. I was reminded by one of my colleagues that the synagogue, founded now 40 plus years ago, at the time thinking if you could get the founders back around a table and show them today's headlines, what would they feel about the last 40 years? And you'd have to believe they'd feel something good, something deep and surprising and satisfying about this headline from recent news, quote, "Federal judges strike down same-sex marriage bans in Indiana and Utah." That's progress. Those are the kind of headlines for many years we did not expect to see. But they epitomize the progress we've made. And they epitomize the reason we need to rededicate ourselves, because those extraordinary steps forward, I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people, even in recent years, who would have never imagined where we'd be today. People who believed but couldn't see the pathway. In fact, the pathway's always been there to us. It doesn't matter if you're talking about LGBTQ rights or any other civil or human rights or creating a progressive society. The pathway's always been there. Sometimes the biggest problem is getting the obscuring reality away from our own minds and our own imagination and allowing ourselves to believe we can go farther. So, Cynthia told you about the things we've been trying to do. A lot of them we were told were either not doable or couldn't happen yet or couldn't happen as much, but I guarantee you, sometimes in life you just have to go out there and do it, not worry too much about the fallout. It was time for the rent cap. People had fought for years and years to make sure that individuals with HIV and AIDS could actually afford a place to live. What's controversial about that? It's a mainstream view, if you will. It just had to be solidified and clarified and fought for. It's time to recognize that homeless and runaway youth, they're homeless for a reason, they're runaways for a reason. And this just grips at me, the notion that any family, for whatever reason they claim, for whatever reason of ideology or faith or culture or custom they claim, any family that could put their own child out on the street. I respect all peoples, but I don't respect that. And it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable, and that's what we in a progressive government are obliged to respond to when people do not treat others right. When a family unit rejects their own, we step forward and accept them, we include them, we support them. We will not let our youth be left to whatever dangers confront them. We want to bring them in and tell them they're part of us. That's what the city of New York is doing. And Cynthia's right. Charlene and I love a good parade. We're happy to dress up and go on a parade. Call a parade anywhere, we'll show up. Unless your parade does not allow some people to participate, and then you just won't see us there. So, I don't have a lot more I want to say, but just a couple of points. I have a special honor as the mayor of this city. And anyone who's mayor of this city has this extraordinary opportunity to represent so many parts of the human family all in one place. This is one of the largest and most vibrant LGBTQ communities anywhere in the world. If there is a capital of the gay world, we're in it. Are you with me? And this is a numerical fact. I am the mayor of the city on the earth. We're talking about, look it up, people. Look at every city in the world. Look at their own city, not those suburbs, just the city. I am the mayor of the city on the earth with the largest Jewish population, and I am very honored to be. So if this is the largest Jewish city in the world, if this is the most vibrant gay city in the world, I must be damn lucky. But it also comes with a responsibility to fight anti-gay bias, to fight anti-Semitism, to recognize that this reality lurks among us, that the lesson of history, the lesson that people will tell you about who are walking among us today. There's plenty of people in this room, I know, who have experienced bias. There's plenty of people who have seen anti-gay bias in our streets. There's plenty of people who have seen anti-Semitic graffiti even in New York City. And you can meet people around this city who are Holocaust survivors. And they'll tell you what a very civilized, a very well-mannered, a very quote-unquote advanced Western Europe of the 1930s was like, until it wasn't. And that's a reminder that we have to be ever vigilant. We can be progressives, we can be hopeful, we can be loving and embracing, but we also have to be vigilant. It's not only immediately acting when we see bias here, and any act of violence against Jewish New Yorkers or LGBTQ New Yorkers is an act of violence against all of us, and we will treat it as such. But take a moment to look at what's happening in Europe. And if it doesn't send a little bit of a chill up and down your spine, go and read a little more history. European Parliament elections, countries around Western Europe gave very substantial numbers of support to political parties that are openly anti-Semitic and xenophobic, anti-immigrant. It's not a repeat of the 1930s, but it's a cautionary tale. And everywhere in the world, people of conscience need to see those signs and stand up and speak out and find those trends and defeat them. Not ever assume they aren't a danger. Things become a danger when you think they're not a danger. If you confront them, if you organize people, if you activate people and mobilize people, that's how you stop a danger from happening. So it's so important in this city to set the tone, to be an example to the world. We feel such a tie to so many parts of the world. We feel such kinship. New Yorkers have that incredible sense of living here, loving it, feeling it deeply, but also feeling so connected, for so many of us, to at least one other homeland. And that makes us richer and stronger. We have a special relationship with Israel. It's very deep. And we care deeply. And we need to work hard for a peaceful and secure Israel, as the democratic homeland of the Jewish people. So I'll finish with this. Shabbat. Shabbat is many things. I'm sure everyone in this room has their own definition, their own personal experience. As a Gentile, I will say Shabbat brings up one thought for me. It's called envy. I'm like, why the heck didn't we think about that? So consider yourselves way ahead of the curve. But it's also profoundly progressive in its nature. It's not just a day of rest, recognition that humanity needs that. It's profoundly progressive if you look at the origins. In ancient times, leisure was sadly unknown. People just labored. They just worked to survive. And there was a chosen few who had the luxury of the notion of a day off. The idea of time for contemplation or time with your family or time with your faith, that was a rarity. And with the notion of Shabbat, it wasn't segregated. It was for everyone. Even the laboring masses deserved a day off and a day to feel the fullness of life. Abraham Heschel, the great Polish-born New York rabbi who was a friend and an ally of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he had a great definition of Shabbat. He said, it's a reminder of everyone's royalty, an abolition of the distinction between master and slave, rich and poor. It, to me, therefore, represents inclusion and justice and all the things that we're fighting for right now in this city that actually is for everyone. That's what we're trying to build, something that's for everyone. So, take this moment, revel in the pride of this week. Think for a moment about Shabbat that you enjoy and you experience, and think about it as a deeper commitment to fairness and inclusion of all. And feel encouraged by the strength and the growth of this congregation. Feel encouraged by everyone around you. Finally, remember the words of someone who I look up to, a great New Yorker also, the playwright Tony Kushner, who wrote in Angels in America a simple notion. He said, the world only spins forward. Let's make it so. Thank you.
It's such an honor to have a true progressive mayor of the city of New York, in which we celebrate our 40-something anniversary. And it's our honor to present to you, Mr. Mayor, for the Gracie Mansion Library, a copy of, it's an advanced copy of the book celebrating 40 years of CBST, Changing Lives, Making History, which we believe you are doing every day in your administration. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And in Mayor Bill de Blasio's honor, we ask everyone to remain standing. And in the bulletin on page 4, if you are able, if not, feel free to sit down. We sing this song from generation to generation, seeing the work of this mayor and his colleagues, the work of all of us in this room. We are gifts and we are blessings. We are history and song. We are hope and we are healing. Page 4, from generation to generation, we continue to transform our world and to work together. Page 4.
We are gifts and we are blessings. We are history in song. We are hope. We are learning to be strong.
We are worthy.
you very much, Mr. Mayor, First Lady, for being with us tonight. From generation to generation, all of us stand on the shoulders of greats that have come before us, and we pave the way for those who will follow us. Thank you very much for being with us tonight, and we'll see you on Sunday on Fifth Avenue.